Welcome back, guys, to the Beyond Condition podcast. Now, the guest I have today would have heard me intro that many, many times because Rob is a client of mine and he's been listening to the pod since we started coaching. And actually, I would say you're probably one of the ones that has benefited the most and given me that feedback as to how much the pod has helped. So it's an honor for me to have you on. And I know that you feel that's reciprocated as well. So thank you, first of all.
The honour's mine. No, thank you.
And what we're going to talk about today now, to give some insight into what we are going to explore, and for the listeners to get a bit of an understanding before we delve into our topic today. As a competitor myself, it's something that I'm so passionate about. And on reflection, when I look at what's gone into competing, it's often overlooked as to how it affects, I guess, the people around you and what the impact it does have, because of course you go very tunnel vision, you're so focused on what you're doing in, a prep off season as well. And for me, when we spoke about you coming on the pod, it was actually off the back of you saying, right, I'm going to put a video together. Now, your wife just completed her first prep, which is amazing. And she's
a week
yeah,
ago.
1 week. And it's amazing, again, when you reflect, it was a week ago, but how much goes into that one show. And time just flies. And Matt, my other half, coaches Kirsty, your wife. And so I've had some input there as well. And we've got this community that we've built. And when you messaged me saying, I want to make a video, I want to put this all into a video as like a reflection to, I guess, for you, get the feelings out there rather than, sit with it per se. So, of course, you've recorded the video and we've just gone live on Instagram with that, which is probably quite out of body for you. And when I watched the video, now I must share this with the listeners, as you know, I'm always honest. I started watching it and it's very emotive. And then it got to the point where you could really see your emotions coming through that video. And for me, I was actually in the gym training because it started loading and then it dropped and I just burst into tears. And for me, Matt said to me, I've never seen you cry like that. And it was a good cry, like I said to you, because you were like, I'm sorry I made you cry. But it was like a fuck, what goes into a prep? You just do it. And you maybe don't recognize what you've done. But of course, the underlying factor was that maybe we don't recognize what the people closest to us go through when we commit to something like a prep. So then, of course, I offered for you to come on the pod and actually give a husband's story, as it were, to, how that felt, Kirsty, going into a prep. So I guess we could start with what sparked you to go, I'm going to make a video about this.
I think for me, people who know me, I write essays about stuff, about how I feel. At first, I wasn't a good communicator and not very good talker. I mean, this is the first for me. So this in itself is a new territory.
Yeah.
And I thought, for me, like after the show, I couldn't look at social media, which is awful for me because everyone was so proud of Kirsty. And I told her that I was proud of her, but I could not look at social media because of, I think of the amount that's gone in from obviously Kirsty, but also sacrifice that's come from myself, the two boys who have been amazing. They have been the pillars, the two pillars that have drove me forward into then in turn helping Kirsty. Yeah. So I thought, rather than writing a load of social media, I'll break the mold. And this is what comes from confidence built from my own journey. Yeah. I just felt right, and I felt that the time was right to just set video. Now, I mean, now I'm comfortable in my own skin, and that's because of the support and guidance that I've received from yourself and Matt along the way. And those factors really drove me to doing the video. And it felt right. It felt really right. And I felt like it just needed to come out and people needed to visually see how much it affected myself, the boys more so, because I assumed the role of mum and dad, putting them to bed, getting them up, getting them dressed for school. Those things that we'd normally do together, it was just me. But I think that comes with having a good support group. And I felt it was my duty to let Kirsty do what she needed to do, to go into that tunnel vision and do what she needed to do to get the best out of herself for that show and beyond, I believe. And for me, she achieved so much. And it was beautiful to watch. I've seen her over the years, not much confidence, always doubting herself, which she shouldn't have needed to, because she's an incredible woman. And the amount she's changed, in fact, transformed into something completely different, is amazing. To see her on that stage was the pinnacle. To see that achievement on there was phenomenal. And it made it worth it. But at the same time, when I did the video, it was talking about it, brought it all back, and the amount of sacrifice and everything that those boys have gone through. It's not about me. It's about the boys. The boys have been incredible. They've matured in such a short space of time. And there's been tough times, real tough times. They've seen everything and gone through it with us. I think when somebody goes through something like that, a transformation like that, to get on the stage and focus on that individual thing, as family and friends, we all have to put our opinions to one side, our prejudgments, everything else, and focus on that one person to help that person through. And it all factored in to why I did the video rather than writing a massive essay, because I felt like it just needed to be said. And it just gave me such empowerment to do that and to show people that there is another side to the story. You see them on stage, but also there's other people in the background that help along the way to get that person onto stage. Now, it can be a husband, a wife, a partner, a son or daughter, or even a friend. That person, that support group goes through it with them. And it's just, like you've touched on, it's easy to forget. And I think it's just about raising awareness that it's not just one person that goes through it. We all go through it together. And no matter how old you are, you do go through it together. And it makes you stronger. And I feel that from this whole experience, it's been given me strength to know that whatever challenges come to me, like this again, or whatever, if the boys are struggling or anything like that, I've got it up there in my head, the strength to see it through, because this was a real tough challenge, and that for all of us. And we've gone through it together. I know Kirsty's gone through it, the training, the posing, and everything. And yeah, it's there's nothing I can't put into words just how proud I am of the boys. Kirsty, of course, I lost my voice after the show because of the amount of screaming that I did, because I was so proud of her, because someone else was on that stage. Yeah.
It's, I think, as well, quite relevant there what you've said about that everyone's on the bandwagon, as it were, and it's like the lead up to the show. And I speak about this on the pod, you're like 5 weeks out, 4 weeks out, and everyone is there cheerleading, and everyone starts to get behind you, your friends, etc. And even people that you may not have heard from see you post on social media, and suddenly you've got all these people around you, and it's a really immersive time, and it gets you through, for Kirsty, those hard training sessions, being hungry, all of these things. And then very much like you said as well, after the show, for the competitor, it's like, you get a week or a couple of weeks where everyone's still, and then that dissipates, and that's natural, you know. If people follow for success and they want to cheer you on and whatever, but then they go back to their normal life, right? So then another factor for you, which we've spoken about, and I want to, you know, I've said to you, lean on me as much as you can, is when that then dies off as well, it's back to you being the support network again after the show, because you've got the goal of the show and then that's removed. And of course, Kirsty and Matt are working together closely as well. But then it's like you're going to be needed to support Kirsty for X amount of time now in a different dimension with no show at the end. And I guess that's sort of where you're at the moment. And she'll be riding highs and lows, I'm sure. And you know, for you, it's like, right, we've done the show and that's done, and you're going to want to regain family, etc., etc. And I mean, how does that feel now the show is done?
It's, I think a few days after the show, obviously she'd done the show and she was on such a high, a very big high, and just the next, I think, 24 hours, it just, there's like a crash. And that's nothing to be ashamed of.
No.
I think the analogy I can best describe it as is when somebody from the military leaves and goes to Civvy Street. It's that transition from the show to Civvy Street, and those experiences that come with it and that don't prepare you for it. You've done the show, you've got yourself into an absolutely incredible condition, which she did. And I'd just like to mention about Drew as well, was outstanding as well. Amazing. So I'll put out there as well that there was 2 people on that stage that did incredible. Those 2 would have hit a bump. And support from myself, the boys, and the family and friends is critical. And that to the aiding that, getting her back into, it sounds awful, but normal life. That back from post show. And there's been a couple of ups and downs along the way, but today has been a good day. And it's, as a family, we've been together, and she said to me that, I love this. This is what I've missed. And the boys were with her, and you could tell that they'd missed her. And that's the hardest part of it all, that those boys have missed their mum. She'd done, like I said, done training and everything else. But for me as a father, it's about showing them that it's not forever throughout all this. And they see the mum and that during the day and that, but obviously things like bedtime and stuff like that, she was in bed, and that because of all the fatigue that she'd gone through, and that for the training, the weighted steps and everything else, it all plays a part in not just hunger as well, mental health as well, all that. And they've missed her so much. And it's nice to see everyone together, family. And it's those kind of things where are critical to a person's transition from the show and thereafter and beyond.
And would you say there was a certain point in the prep that you started to notice, and there was that communication between you and Kirsty, that actually she's going to have to withdraw from certain things that she'd normally do, like you say, putting them to bed and stuff like that? Did it like a gradual thing, and then it was like, oh shit, this has crept up on us? Or was it something you communicated before and then put things in place?
I think slowly you saw the fatigue coming, and that's when, as a husband, a father, and that, a good support group will help them through, and that is key. And you could see the fatigue coming in. There was more arguments, I'd say, between ourselves and that, and the boys saw that, which again is one of the more upsetting parts of it. But it's not, what I said to the boys was, she's working so hard to be better for herself, and so she needs to go to bed, and that you might not see her as often as you'd like. And there were times when the boys were crying their eyes out to say, where's mummy? Where I want mummy. And though, as a father, you feel helpless because you can't give them what they want. And so you do your best to step in as both a mum and a dad to see them through. But going back to when the signs come through, I think it was when we started, like she was doing the weighted steps, for example, those occasions where you saw that she was getting up at 3:30 in the morning to go and do her steps, weighted steps, then go to the gym, then have a meal, then go to do a full-time job as well in the process. And then it obviously came to bed that evening time, and that was the difficultest part of the whole experience. When Kirsty was fatigued, there was more upset, more emotion, and that was because of everything she's doing, all the effort she'd put in to it, which is an incredible achievement. But obviously the boys, the kids, they don't know any different, and I just want to see their mum, who they love and adore so much, and they couldn't get them. They couldn't go and give her a cuddle and that, and go, I want mum to put me to bed, or things like that, because she was getting resting, which I needed to make sure that she did that. She got the best time to recover from what she'd done, posing, all that sort of thing, so she could be ready for the next day, because it's a like you say, it's a tunnel vision. And the way I see it, it's not a selfish sport, it's individualistic. Selfish for me carries so much negativity,
for sure,
and individualistic is what it is. She had to do the posing, the training, the food prep against people's opinions, etc., which is a different subject, which I'll touch on in a bit.
We will talk about that.
And people like that not really being a closed mind sort of thing, she had to deal with all of that, and that as well compiled in the fatigue. So it was my job, as both mum and dad at that time, to keep my boys on track, thinking this is not going to be forever, this is only a short-term thing. Your mum is going to come back, and she's going to be incredible. She's going to be far more incredible than she's ever been before, and it's evident, and that through that show, how incredible she's become. And
it's you can't even imagine. I mean, I'm not a mum myself, but it is like you say there. I think the big part is kids don't get it, and prep can be quite because it's such a timely, every single day it's like, I have to do X, Y, and Z over this day. I can't let up because something's going to slip, or I'm going to have to negotiate something. Then that goes on to the next day, etc. And when you've got children and all they want is a hug or whatever else, I've had many conversations where when you're knee deep in prep, even giving your partner a hug, it's like you're having a hug, but it's not a meaningful hug as such. It's like okay, and then you move on to whatever you do in that day. And I guess from a child's point of view, that could easily carry over, and I'm sure we've got listeners that are potentially a single parent, and that would be even more difficult with that. I mean, when you said about sort of arguments and things changed a little bit in the dynamic there, if we could maybe delve into that, about, was there a point where that type of thing, was it more that Kirsty became a bit irritable as the fatigue built up, and then it was like maybe she'd snap at you and that would cause an argument? How that sort of, I guess maybe how that felt initially, like, because maybe you weren't expecting it.
I think there has been occasions where things have caught me off the back foot, and it's like, Jesus, what has gone off here? But it's part of you is in the heat of the moment, and it just goes hell for leather. And the other half, over time, has just been like, this is not her. This is not my wife. This is fatigue. This is just the prep that's taking place. And there's been occasions where the boys have been involved, like in the argument and that, where we've been like standing off and stuff like that. And my priority is to protect them boys.
For sure.
Protect them boys from what's been said. And that's the last thing I want my children to see, is an argument, especially when it's a needless argument. But part of you knows what's going off. You learn to know and to realize that is only the fatigue coming out of it, it's like what normally would be an innocent thing is just tenfold, and it's like a nuclear bomb's gone off. And you have to protect those boys and de-escalate those boys. That obviously they're getting upset that mum and daddy are arguing, but it's about taking them out of the situation. And there were times when we couldn't take them out of the situation. It was upsetting, and it wasn't because of anything other than the fatigue, the prep, and everything, the effort that she was putting in, and it just took its toll. And it was just those sort of things you can't avoid. And where you've talked about single parents and that, I think the key with anybody doing this is the support. The support is crucial. If you don't have that support, I would argue it's the fourth pillar of this whole thing. Without that push for you to go and do it, it's going to be a challenge for yourself. It's going to be an obstacle. And that if people don't support you, friends and that and family behind you, in whatever shape they are, then it's an uphill struggle. And it's just, I think, taking the arguments and that into context, and that I had to keep that going, and that the support had to keep going. It was like, you can throw as much as you want to me as you want. I will take it, because I know that in time it won't be that happening, because it's just the fatigue and everything that's going off along with it.
I'd say you're a very unique individual, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass when I say to you, you know, you've done the prep as well, and that's not just being that support network. We must also highlight that you've been in pretty severe deficit for quite some time, because we have a photo shoot in a week which we've been leading up to together, and your own journey, which you've touched on a little bit there, is, you know, you've lost over 4 stone, you've completely transformed your body, but you've also completely transformed your mind. And like I say, I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. You have it's a new version of you, and I believe that is, which you've already mentioned, how you've been able to have the mindset you have, and through our talks and being able to be honest and open and get it out how you feel throughout the prep, that's enabled you to do this. And there'd be listeners that will probably be thinking, well, I haven't got a fucking husband like that. And that's tough in itself. But I think that what we must always lean on is that the communication was there as much as it could. So albeit there was frustrating times, there was arguments, you were able to communicate between you two to go, okay, so bedtime is going to be different now. I need to do X, Y, and Z, so this is going to change. Would you say that during this time, that was there periods where it felt like there was resentfulness or anything building, or were you able to just keep that level head? Because of course that's what does build.
I think you cannot have resentment for anyone in this. It's, like I said, individualistic. It's, they've made that choice to do this prep, to go on stage, and you should back them 100%. And that as a friend, husband, wife, partner, colleague, anyone, and your prejudgments of that person's choice needs to go, because that person, it's a choice they've made, and we must respect it. And as a husband, I must respect it. I have to respect it, because if I don't, she will be resentful. She would have been resentful throughout this all. And that's what I did not want. And things like saying silly comments, like, what are you doing that for?
Very prep,
because I want to. It's because I want to. It's my choice. It's her choice. And for us, we have to support that. And your opinions or anybody else's opinions are irrelevant. That person's made that choice to do that preparation, to go in that calorie deficit, to train as much as they do, to do the posing after the sessions and that, which again is a challenge in itself. To get perfectly nailed, which she did on that day, and so did Drew. You can't have those sort of opinions or resentment. It's about supporting that person 120%, even though you feel totally shit. Totally shit. You may feel shit as hell, You may feel that up here, I can't do it today, but you have to do it today. You have to do it today. You have to do it next day. You have to do it 3 weeks from now. Through thick and thin. And for me as a husband, the vows are made are still true, because that's again what underpins the support for your wife or anybody else as a friend, anything like that. The fact that you're their friend, you support them through thick and thin, even if you don't like what they're doing, you back them 100%. And that's true. That's really critical.
Yeah, for sure. And would you say, was there any sort of coping mechanisms, as it were, to if things did get, because of course you're going to be running into fatigue as well, Rob. You're in, like I say, quite a severe calorie deficit on our lead up, and what you do in a day, we'll talk about how you started to structure that. But was there certain things that you lent on where you could, if it got heated, you could go, I need to go and care for myself here and let this process?
So when all was said and done, the kids were in bed, Kirsty were in bed, that was my time to go to the gym and train. And before I even started this journey, I didn't have that structure, and that it was just sat there and just, well, I won't say wallowing, but just sat in it. And it's was nice throughout the whole journey to put, I consider it a duty. It's a duty to make sure that your wife is sorted, but your children are sorted, even your friends are sorted. And then you can focus on yourself, because you know me, Sarah, that I'll put everybody else before myself.
Yes.
And that's just me. That is me.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah, we're working on it. Yep. But then now we talk about the selfish streak. Though it's a negative thing, individualistic thing.
Yeah.
And you then focus on yourself. I'd say that I'd leave 8 o'clock, 7:30 to focus on myself, and just doing the training at that time allowed me to reflect and just focus on myself and just let things just seep away.
Yeah.
And that is probably the biggest coping mechanism that I've had. And that the training, the fact that it's your time to focus on yourself and just get into the zone, put your music on, put a podcast on, and just go and focus on yourself. And I think it really helped my training, and that to be able to focus on myself at that time as a result of the structure we'd set up prior to even starting the first week before prep.
Yeah. And I think that, again, people around us probably, it's hard because, like you say, it is individualistic. And I think that sometimes people around you can take it personal if you are a bit short, or, you over egg something and it's like, what are you doing? And nothing's actually happened. But this is where it comes into the people communicating with you and supporting you unconditionally. Now, like ourselves, if Matt was in a prep, I'd be the same as you. It's like, okay, I understand things might get on top of him sometimes, X, Y, and Z, and I'd facilitate for that, as you have done. But I guess for people that are in non-bodybuilding couples, so if you've got one person in prep and the other half is not in prep and maybe doesn't know anything about bodybuilding, I think that it'd be quite hard for them not to take it personally, and I'm sure you'd agree.
Yeah, I think it's, again, goes back to that non-judgmental attitude of your wife, your husband, your partner, your friend who wants to do it. The boils down to it all is that you are their friend, or whatever you are to them, and if they've made that choice to do something, to undertake such a task which bodybuilders undertake, then you should support them. And your opinions are fine, you can talk about them, but the important thing for anybody is to know that you've got their back.
Yeah.
And that's so if anybody wants to go in prep, they're my friends, etc., or do anything different, not even bodybuilding, we'd have a conversation, but ultimately you back them 100% and say, whatever you need, whatever you want me to do. If you want me to talk to me. If you don't want to, that's fine, but I'm
Sit
here.
there.
Yep, I'll sit there, zen, and just be there. And that, sometimes you don't have to even have to say a word. Just being there, just that one person in their corner can make them believe that they can do it, and they've got your support. That's all they need. They don't need judgments or anything like that. People can take it personally as much as they like, but as a friend and whatever you may be to somebody, that person's made that choice. You have to back them, support them in any way possible, even though inside you may have your reservations. You may think, what the hell are you doing that for? you back them, and that's what I feel like I'm proud of myself for doing, because I backed it to the hilt, and I protected the boys and showed them that what she's doing, she's making herself better. She's more confident now, more than I've ever known a person grow in confidence. And this is what I've wanted to see for 13 years. I knew it was there. I knew it was there, but it just took a long time to see, and it just needed people to invest in her and believe in her. And through yourself, through Matt, through the community, through people she follows on Instagram, she's got that self-belief, and she's off the scale, absolutely off the scale. The results that she achieved and everything, and it's all that it's been there. You could see it there, but she didn't have the belief, and that's just where the factor of having a coach, having the right support group, having the right tools gets you places.
Yeah, and it is that, for me, this is what bodybuilding brought me, right? Like, it was, although I was in an unhappy place in the rest of my life, as you know, it was my haven, it was my happiness, and it was my opportunity to be good at something through my own effort. Now, this is what I always try and get across to people, because a lot of people see this as many different things, bodybuilding. Like we say, we've touched on it being maybe selfish, or maybe it's, oh, you only want to head for a certain aesthetic. Maybe people think, oh, why would you want to look like that as females? Why do you want muscle? All of these things that we come across. And for me, there was always that underlying, exactly what you just said there. My life before bodybuilding, I felt like I was a nobody. I never felt good enough. I would always just, I'd be there, but in my mind, everyone was better than me. It doesn't matter what scenario I was in. I wore clothes that exposed areas of my body because it was like a need to do that in an opposite way, because I was the most unconfident person possible. But it was like, oh, well, I was fitting with everyone else. Yeah. And you do these funny things as a teenager, as a young adult, because you don't fit in. And that's where you and I resonate a lot, because our whole lives it's been like, I don't really know who I am. And for me, that's what changed for me when I found bodybuilding. And then when you then look at the other side of it, the levels of fatigue, the levels of what you have to go to get to stage condition, that's then that you've got these two sort of sides to it. And it's very difficult, because you have got that, in a prep, you're very fucked towards the end a lot of the time, and you start to come away from what you got into the initial bodybuilding for, to feel good and present yourself and gain confidence. And then there's this real battle across, what's good, what's bad, etc., from the sport. And I really like how you say it's individualistic, because it so is. And I feel like a lot of the time we need to fall back on why we're doing it in the first place. Now, you as an example, we're doing this for a photo shoot, so we're not looking to put you on stage this time around. It may be something we do in the future, but that's giving you a why, that's giving you a reason to succeed, and to push into what you've done so far, which I have to say again is fucking phenomenal. And it doesn't always have to be for stage, but what you have put into your prep for the photo shoot is just as much, maybe more so, than some bodybuilders would do. And I can say that because I know that is fact, what you're doing every single day. And I believe that, of course, that does lead into you understanding what Kirsty's doing. Now, perhaps we lead into here as well, where the journeys you've both been on, the conflict that you have faced with friends, family. I know that in the workplace as well, if we could maybe delve into that for you personally, and you supporting Kirsty going through that as well. I think this would be a very, a relevant topic for us to cover.
Yeah, I think, like I've touched on throughout this, there's no place for it. Somebody's made that choice to do this, to undertake such a task that this presents. You are making a sacrifice. You're not going out for a piss up or something like that, or having a pizza, a takeaway, something like that, or having a meal, and that every weekend. You are making this sacrifice. That choice is yours, and as a person, we have the right to make that choice.
Yeah.
And when people turn around and say, "Oh, it's disgusting," or "You look like a skin and bone," it's like, well, that's not that place. Yeah, up your Khyber.
Yeah, fuck off.
Yeah, and there's no place for it. I mean, the word disgusting just was nails on a chalkboard to me.
Yeah,
it's like that's that person's choice, and that if they want to choose to go with muscle or even enhanced, it's their choice. They've made that choice, because that's we are as human beings. We make our own choices, and you can have your opinion, you can say your piece, and that's it. Because I've made that decision to do this for me, to be better myself, which is the case for myself and Kirsty. We've made this choice. We've sacrificed alcohol, takeaways, and stuff like that, because this is to make us a better person. And I can safely say that this has made me a better person, because this person here, if I saw the person before me, I'd be like, "Don't worry, my friend. This is what's coming. Stick with it. Take that first step. You will love it. You will love every single moment of it. You'll have trials and tribulations along the way. You'll have pillocks saying what they want, the 2 pennies worth, whatever. But stick with it. You'll love it. And when you see your wife on that stage, my friend, oh, you are going to love it as well." There's no place for it. There really isn't. And it really irritated me when people said it to Kirsty and that, about why she's eating this, why she's weighing her food and that. But again, it's her choice. It's not affecting you. You're not dying in a corner because of it. Yeah. It's their choice, and you have to support them. And I'll keep saying that through thick and thin. Anyone who wants to have a conversation with me, I'll even video it and put it on record. I've said it before, I'll say it again. That sort of thing. It's people's choices, and there's no place for negativity. And I've had conversations with Kirsty's mum about how worried she is, and I see that side of it, and that's there's a difference between when it comes from love and care and consideration and thoughtfulness, and those that have come from malice and jealousy. You can tell the difference. And with Kirsty's mum, it was from heart, and she was worried. And I say, look, this is only a temporary thing. She's doing this for her. This is her choice. And she will slowly be built up again, food-wise, and she'll look better than ever before. And that's coming. And I've had a conversation with my nan and everything else, who love very much, as I do with all my family. The same conversation. She just, I just want to go into the kitchen and just pick a biscuit and stuff like that. Those sort of things.
Yeah, this is what mums do, though. I want to.
Yeah. And especially grandmothers. Grandmothers and that,
For sure, it is. I've spoken about it on the pod, you'll remember. Like, it's this like soft education. So exact example of what you just described there. Now, we all have parents or close ones, like you say, grandmother or whoever that may be, of like a older generation, if we put it like that. And this is probably going to be completely away from what they've ever seen before. Now, if we look at this from a factual point of view and what goes into bodybuilding, when you're getting stage lean, it's extreme. So people around you have seen you as, Kirsty and Rob, that you won't mind me saying, you were 4 stone heavier than you are now, and you really wanted to work on where you had found yourself. So to get to that spot that you were at, right, like there was going to have been takeaways, there was going to be foods that you don't have now, there's alcohol, etc. So these people that have spent however many years of that, Rob, and then suddenly you're saying, I can't have that anymore. I'm not going to have that anymore. Now, I would, in my experience, and I would say working with clients, that people see that as maybe not even jealousy, but they're like, well, where's Rob gone? Because your affiliation with them is, oh, we're going to go for a meal and a couple of bevies, or we're going to do this. And then they're like, well, what are we going to do if we meet up then? So it'd be interesting to see how you started to combat that when you started your fitness journey as well.
It's like, you guys have fun. I'm having my fun. I'm
Yes,
watching
yes.
several people in a pub getting trolleyed. And I think there was one occasion where they were fighting and stuff like that. I was like, thank God I'm not drunk. And that, thank God I'm not drunk. All right. They were coming quite close, and it was like, no, get back, you. I'm sober. Stay there.
This is gold.
And it's just, yeah, you watch. It's just amazing what you watch and see people do when you're not in that bubble, that drinking bubble and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, it was quite comical, but I think it was my choice, and thankfully the people around me, once they saw the changes that were happening, again, fully behind me, and that fully behind Kirsty. They listened, they understood, and they carried on what they did. And that I said that to a group of friends at uni. You carry on doing what you want to do. If you want to have a meal, you go for it. You have a meal. If you want a drink, you have a drink. I am more than happy to just have a non-alcoholic drink and just enjoy the company.
Yeah.
And there's more to it than just having a takeaway, getting trolleyed and losing your teeth and all that lot. But there's more to it. And I think when me and Kirsty went out that particular occasion, we enjoyed it more because it was just like we weren't having thickheads. And
you don't feel like shit the next day.
No. It was nice. And it was nice to go in the gym and just do what I want to do what Kirsty wants to do.
And of course, what we've worked on as well, there was times, not so much now, because like I say, we are in a pretty severe deficit because we're really close now to the shoot, and our aims are to get you as lean as possible. But towards the start, there was occasions when you'd go and stay away for uni and things like that. And what we did was go, okay, so what can we do to look at the hotel menus and make better decisions and things like that? And would you say that on reflection has helped you sort of integrate this and then maybe not miss it as much as well, because you were able to have it a bit, and then now it's like, I'm cool sticking to plan?
So the beauty of it was, over time, I started bringing my own stuff. So things like, I love green lentils and mixed beans. Just eat them all day.
He loves the lentils.
Either tuna or chicken. And that fills me. It's just, it's like, wow, it's nice. And I feel my stomach feels better for it. And like I spoke to you about in the recent check-in, I've recently had bloods back and I've got celiac. So it's the stuff was already there, and that in terms of like take it like lentils and stuff like that. But those new dimensions are quite exciting, because it's like, well, how do you overcome this barrier? Right, you can't have gluten, you can't have bread more, pretty much. How are you going to overcome it? I haven't missed bread and stuff like that because I've not really had it, to be fair.
Yeah, and we can look at, because we're going to talk about that, when you go on this journey as well. And like I said, I'll cover it in check-in, because what you've learned with sensitivities and different foods anyway, and we expand on that as we move forward, is that certain foods haven't sat well with you. But what's been pretty cool is what I actually really thrive on my own physique development journey is you start to learn that actually you've had foods for your whole life and maybe they haven't sat well, but you haven't realized. And then you're like, oh, I have these foods on repeat, and you've maybe had digestion issues or things like this before embarking on this journey, and mainly working with a coach, because you wouldn't talk to anyone about it ordinarily. And it's like, oh, actually, I've noticed that on days where I have more dairy, which was sort of the first thing that came up for you, it was like, I've noticed that things are a bit more sluggish, or maybe, that repeats on me a bit. And then it's like, right, let's take that out, see what the alternatives are. And that I would say adds substance to your journey, and you start fine tuning things. And what we've worked on is sensitivities, as it were, in your nutrition.
Yeah, particularly red meat. I had
bolognese
once with bolognese with the boys and that, and just went to the gym and just, oh God almighty, heavy. What's happening to me? Yeah, heavy. And my gym session was not enjoyable. and flagged it up with yourself, and we're like, right, let's throw it out, let's chuck
Yeah.
it out. And since then, nothing apart from the soya, and that which I'm quite gutted about the soy yogurt, which is like, no, I found it dairy as well, and that it was just those things like that. But you adapt, and it's that mindset. It's like, right, okay, this is it happening. We override it, we find something new, and we adapt. And thankfully, that's what we've done throughout this. We've adapted, we've evolved and moved forward.
And that is what this journey, I would say, is about, per se, because you get to learn your body more. It's like weight training. You evolve it. So we started with nailing a few sessions a week. Then it was like, actually, I think I could get another one in. Oh, I can add another one in. Oh, I can do more steps. And then it's this like graduated process, and similar for Kirsty and you two both to travel on that road together, as it were. It's a really cool exploration, and that of course gives you respect for each other. Would you say that seeing Kirsty prep has almost given you an extra level of respect as to what she's capable of?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, the confidence was there, but years of people sticking their fingers in and just messing with that confidence that was there, that is there, kept it down. But she's, through the prep, through building a confidence, becoming more leaner, and just confidence in herself, it's come through. And I always knew it was there. It was there from the day I met her, and she just needed to. It took time, but over time, and particularly through, I'd say this has been catalyzed by the prep, the training, the coach input, the support, the community. It's all brought her out of her shell, and finally it's there to see. And it was on that stage where you saw it all, and I could not be more prouder of that person that came on that stage. It was like someone else. Call it white line fever.
Yeah.
You're a completely different person,
and then
off it, but then when you cross that white line, boom, it was like someone completely different. And
this is
it was
what I always say to
incredible.
people. That's what it should be. You reserve your energies, keep it chilled, sloth mode. Andy was very good at this. I don't know if you noticed on the show day. I said to him, be a sloth, and he literally took that to the next level. And I was like, this is brilliant. And then as soon as you cross over that like curtain or whatever it is on the stage, that's when the energy, you need to put into your stage performance. And I said to Kirsty backstage, you're going to get 5 to 10 minutes on stage, chill, and then rinse it. And she did exactly that. And I guess as well, what would be quite an interesting thing to ask you as a husband of someone doing this is, I've sort of always thought in the back of my mind, and it's been cool with me and Matt, but in this type of, I guess it is sometimes a bit of a male dominant sport, right? And, Instagram, if you're posting stuff on there as a female, you've got your bikini on and whatever else. Was there ever any thoughts in your mind as to how that would feel, being a husband and your woman exposing herself on stage on Instagram, as we call it? I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but
I think the way I saw it was, you can look, you can't touch.
Love that.
That's the way I saw it. Look,
That's what
you can
Matt
look.
says.
Yeah, you can look, but you cannot touch. But I didn't mind that because it was confidence coming through.
Excellent.
And that's what I wanted to see, the confidence come through. That she video, like the posing sessions that she did with Emma, the UKUP events that she did, all were videoed. People could see them. But I think again, it comes to the bond you have with that person, the bond you have with your wife, and loyalty to the end. And that end, that's where, again, silly, I know, but it comes back to the vows you made on the day you got married, the day you started going out with that person, the day you met that person, through thick and thin, loyalty to the end. And no matter what you do, no matter what you say, I'm still here. You can go on stage, do what you need to do, be that person, but I'm still here, and that little Rob's here.
And when we spoke briefly about, and I'd like to touch on it a bit more with the scheduling and how you made this work, when we talk about it as an actual, I don't know, the lifestyle you had to start creating to facilitate the prep. Now, you have a uni dissertation that you've been leading up to, and that's continued throughout Kirsty's prep. You've traveled with that. You work as well. and then like you've mentioned, you took the role of mum and dad for that period of time, and you did your own training and your own food and everything else. How did that look in the day of Rob as we were going through the prep? Did that ever become points where it was like, God, this is just really tough? Or did you just put a plan in place and it was like, just box off each day and get to the show, as it were?
I think with, like when you start with somebody and you get to know them, you treat each day as it comes, and you have that in place where you say, right, your training is taking place in the morning, and I'll go at night. I will take what I will do my job. I'll do my dissertation. I'll support the boys and that when you're struggling, and that I'll take that off you so you can be the best person you can be on that stage or in your training sessions or even when you're prepping your food. And that you have to take that as somebody who's supporting somebody. And we had that agreement set in place, like you would train in the morning, I will train at night, and that I will put the boys to bed, and then I'll focus on myself. And that, as I always do, I will put everybody before myself, because that's just me. That's me as a person, and I know we're working on it. But to be fair, we did achieve it because I was focusing on myself in the evening, because all the duty, my duties, husband and father, was complete, and I was on the other side of a phone in case things happened. I could come back straight away. And that one of the occasions it did, and that when Barnaby wouldn't settle, or he'd been in bed and he got up and tried to climb out of the cot, and then I come home and calm the situation down, and you went back to sleep. But yeah, it shortened my session. But in the end, once you get that call, once you get that message, there's something wrong, that click, you're in that mode again. Get yourself out, get yourself back home, get everything right, and then everyone's okay. And that's my job, to make sure everybody's okay and check that they're all right. And that whatever I can do to help somebody, or help Kirsty, help my sons, even family or friends, I'll do it.
And how did that in a day? Because of course, one of the things again we have worked on is your own sleep, because of course these fitting everything into a day where it's like your food prep, your uni, your work, being a dad, being a mum, etc. Something has to give, of course, and we knew that this was just for a short space of time, and we started trying to bring in, the gym being a little bit earlier, getting to bed a little bit earlier, type of thing. How was that, trying to sort of manage that as well when you're dealing with everything in a day?
That's probably the challenge of all this. Your priority, you put yourself aside, and that you focus on, as I said, you focus on your boys and your wife, and sometimes it would be things would not go to plan.
So would that be like if the kids, something happened with the kids or whatever?
Yeah, something happened with the kids or anything like that. Something just occurs, and that incident or anything like that takes over, and but that's where you flick a switch, and that's your duty, and that to be that father, that wife, that husband. If you want to be a wife, I will be if I want. But
that's taking
it to a new level.
Yeah.
And that's so, but that overtook. But those were non-negotiable. When those incidents occurred, you put them first, and then you put yourself after. And I'd like to think that's my character.
Yeah.
If something was wrong, I put them first before myself, which has its drawbacks, but it's work in progress and that. But as long as I got my training in, and that, some things did have to give, and sleep was one of them, and that. But I don't know whether it was just my mindset and that. But even though I might have had about 6 hours sleep, 5 hours sleep, I was in a good place. And that's because of the training that we've done, we've worked on, we've addressed mental health, and everything, which has been a real thorn in my side in terms of overcoming that side of things and learning from the pods and that, from Rob, yourself, and all those things. Those tools have been critical to that. So I could have 5 hours sleep, but I still feel like, right, let's go. LFG.
Yeah, LFG. It is mindset wise as well, and it would be nice to expand on that. I know we're talking about, of course, what you've been through in the prep with Kirsty, but actually some insight into your own journey about where that actually started, and I guess the turning point where you then thought, okay, I'm going to move into my own fitness journey. And I know you won't mind me saying, you were in a pretty dark place when we first started, and maybe we could talk about how that felt and then what that's given you in regards to your own self-confidence.
Yeah, I think for me, mental health for a male, for a man, is always tough. And we are stubborn goats. We hide it. We pretend it's all right, but it's not.
Yeah.
And I think it started in, I think the turning point was a holiday in Egypt, and that my uncle had passed away.
Yeah.
And obviously it built up from years before, just difficult years when I'd be off, and I wouldn't know why, or if I knew, I wouldn't say anything to anybody because I thought, you know what, I can cope with it. I'm fine. It'll pass. And then my uncle passed away, and watching Harvey in particular was tough, and his behaviour and that really took a toll because, like, you know, he was a big part of his life, and part of the family's life. He died very young. So
Okay.
that in itself affected the family in so many ways. But looking at in my image, I was putting everybody before myself. I didn't even have a training or anything like that, or any structure like that. It was just, I was putting everybody first, not doing anything, and I was completely oblivious to it. But things like my uncle passing away, Harvey's struggle with his mental health, and there are still elements today, but they're not as bad. But to watch a little boy struggle is tough, and it took its toll on us. To have also my youngest son, who is a completely different kettle of fish to Harvey in so many ways possible, and that is chalk and cheese, completely different.
Yeah.
He had his own struggles, and I won't blame the lockdown and all that rubbish, but those kind of things played a role because he was very clingy. He wouldn't come to me and stuff like that, and those things play a part. And I'd recently come off a secondment as operations manager, and I didn't know where I was going, and those sort of things really take the toll, and you feel useless. And there were points when I considered, do I need to be here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do I need to be here? Would people be better off without me? And the answer is no, because I know different now. And it just built up. And then I was up doing the Yorkshire Three Peaks for a charity for my friend Holly, and it was a walk to them, the Three Peaks, in 24 hours. And I just got up to the Penny Ghent, which is one of the steepest hills points. And I told Kirsty, I went, I'm struggling, and I'm feeling like I don't want to be here anymore. Those kind of things, and you become blinkered, and that you think you're all right and stuff like that, but you have to have that. And again, it goes back to that selfish individualistic streak we're talking about. You have to be a degree of selfishness, and that, even though it sounds horrible, you have to have that. Yeah. And then I think it was actually August when one of the reels I did when we commemorated the 6 months we'd been working together. There was a picture of me raising my hands to the heavens and going, "Can you help me?
Yeah.
Please help me." And she'd started working with Matt again, who we met in Stafford, and he got us in shape for the wedding, and we followed his journey wherever it took him, and it was a marvelous sight to see that somebody you've seen and that become this figure, this powerhouse of knowledge. And I think it was September. I said, that's August, at the end of August, I was like, right, let's go. It's time to focus on myself and be better, be a better person for not only just Kirsty, the boys, the family. We're a close family, so family's really important to me as a person. And yeah, and then started working with you.
Yeah,
and
it's a
and
marvelous journey.
it was the best, one of the best choices I've ever made. There's been stumbling blocks on the way, but I think having somebody away from it all, impartial, somebody just listen to, even if it's just something like, you know, I feel shit today. Well,
Yeah.
why do you feel shit? Why do you feel shit today?
I don't know.
Let's talk about it. I don't know. But let's talk about it. It's just that soundboard, and the benefits of having a coach are second to none. And that there might be money required, but what I've gained from all of this is I've got my life back. I feel like I've got better. My life is better. I've just entered 11. Like 11, I'm 11 stone 11. I'm like I was 16 stone 4.
Yeah.
And it's just, that is unfamiliar territory that I've never been to before. I've got bloody biceps, for God's sake. I'm like, what the hell are they?
Yeah.
And
it's so cool. It's just so good to see for you as well, because we're already talking about what the next phase looks like. And this is going to be hard for anyone, you know, even lifestyle, prep, whatever that may be, that like reverse out territory that Kirsty's in now, and then looking at a growth phase. Now, you know, from the pod, this is my hardest part, and it's a lot of the listeners' hardest part, because it's all well and good getting leaner, but we know there's going to be challenges again mentally when you're pushing up and you see the scale weight change. Now, I know that we've worked on, you know, the education around what physique development is, right? Like, you're not on a Slim and Well diet anymore, you're not, but you do enjoy seeing the scales go down, as do I, as does Matt, as does Kirsty, as does everyone, because it is part of the progress, you know, it is a measure. But we always look at the physique shots. And what's going to be very good for yourself and Kirsty, of course, sharing this period, but you're going to push into different realms now. So the amount you've evolved already in a diet phase, then it's going to be, you're going to be doing something that's well out of your comfort zone to then see the scales slowly go up, and we will manage that. But this is what is exciting about this journey. It's not just, I'll do a 6-week diet and then it's, what you've learned is the fundamentals of bodybuilding, and that is very exciting. And it's amazing what you've achieved. And actually, we spoke to your friend at the show, didn't we? And he was saying, oh, Rob was always the fat one at school, if we want to be, you know, blunt about it, and he was always skinny. And he said, but now Rob's leaner than me. And I said to him, you know, you won't ever really understand what it's like to be bigger, to then be what that takes to get leaner. And I think that's quite a big message for a lot of people that are on the outside. They don't understand a lot of the time. It's not their fault per se, because they don't know. But what you've had to do, Rob, to get to where you sit now, it's every single day. Like, it's not just, oh, I've done a diet and chopped my calories. We've worked a lot on your understanding of nutrition and training, and there's so much more to come. But I think it is relevant as well, you know, what you've been through, coming from that person to where you are now physically. A lot of people won't understand that unless they've maybe been there themselves. I'm sure you'll agree.
Yeah. I mean, I've learned now the scale weight is not the end of it all.
Yeah.
It's just a reflection on the commitment and testament to your hard work. And that's go from 16 stone 4 to 11 stone 11.
Yeah.
I'll build myself up. I can do that now because I've got it. It takes a commitment to do it, and it's something that scale weight, it's marvelous for me from being a big bloody whale, and to come down to that level, and that it shows what the body can do. When you commit yourself to training, to dieting, to prepping, all that, even growth, massing, and that it just shows you, once you see the results, it just shows what your body can do and what incredible things you can do with your body. So you can go from that weight to 8 stone and that, but provided it's controlled
and timely, you know,
yeah, perfect
got to
timing.
be realistic, yeah, because again, it's not a 6-week diet, and we can all be excited by this sort of like, oh, let's do all these new workouts and oh, let's try and fit these foods in, etc., etc. But I think as our journey has progressed, well, I don't think I know, you've understood more about the nutrition as to we've got this amount of macros, calories, and it's not about sitting down every meal going, this meal's going to be absolutely delicious, it's going to be amazing, I'm going to feel really full. Because of course, when you're running a deficit, you step away from that type of feeling around food. Yes, the food is still nice, you know, we work to get a really good diet together for you, but you've got to sort of sign yourself over to, it's not going to be as it was when you know, Rob, who started this journey, you know, in regards to that brain going, oh, I'm having all this delicious food, you know, it's a very different mindset, isn't it?
Yeah, it comes with discipline, and you have to be disciplined enough to say, no, I don't want pizza. No, I don't want that. This is going to make me better. And like I've said throughout this, what Kirsty did and what bodybuilders do, that we talk in the community and stuff like that, like yourself have done, you've made that choice to do that, to make that sacrifice, to make yourself better, which, yes, it is make you better. And people have to support you in that, and people have to have that, like, want to do it or thinking about doing it or losing weight, for example, need to have that degree of discipline. They have to make that first step. That first step is crucial. And I made that first step and I'm still walking. And it's really, it just brings it home when you see the results, and that's because of the hard work you've put through, not just for your own journey, but seeing other people's journeys. There's nothing I love more than watching other people prosper and succeed. And that even if it's a promotion, if it's in the community, oh, I've done a PB, and that on deadlifts and that and everything, those sort of things, like, you should applaud them because they put the work in and the effort in to achieve that. They are doing a calorie deficit. That requires a degree of discipline. It requires a lot of mental aptitude because of what you've decided to do for yourself. And people, again, like I've said, need to support you through thick and thin. And that, even though they may feel or may see things that they may not be happy with, I think the important thing for me, as I feel like I was a bit of a mediator sort of thing, when people were asking questions and that, I was like, everything's fine. I could not have 2 pairs of safer hands looking after my wife, looking after me. And that, because I know that if I had a problem, I could go to them straight away, so this isn't working and stuff like that, and we'd change it. And that it's about having that communication between yourself, your coach, your friends, and that and everything. And like I said, there's no judgments, and that you need to support them. And
you're very good at that. Actually, on show day, you really did exhibit how controlled you were in that support role, because there was a couple of times where people were getting a little bit and including, you know, times where Kirsty was feeling the pressure of show day and what have you, and you said, you know, I've said to Kirsty, stay in your bubble. And that also transfers to prep and some of the things she came across with, like the workplace and stuff. I mean, it'd be interesting to know how it felt as a husband when she'd maybe come home from work or ring you or however that transpired and say, at work, you know, they've said X, Y, and Z. How did that feel? Because I know that for Matt, he'd be like, I'm fucking going down there. How was that for you when those sorts of things came up?
I think for me, it was about staying calm, and that there, you, again, like I've talked about, you can tell the difference between someone who says it in malice and someone who says it in care. And that, and like I've spoke about with the mum, and that it comes from a place of care. And that's the difference between people. You know the difference between somebody who's been down like arsehole and someone who's genuine. And
Worried.
you know you learn to approach them in a certain way. So I think there's occasions where I've gone, you know what, sleep right over your head. And that, because they're not doing it. They've got their opinion. That's fine. In the end, you're doing it for yourself. You've made that choice, and that to make yourself better. And you are making yourself better. You're doing incredible. And for those people who came from genuine care, I had more time for them. I taught them through it. I thought, look, this is what's happening. Yeah, you might not be a bit upsetting and stuff. You might not be used to seeing that this person become lean or like lose weight like they have done, but it's only for a short time. And the coaching support from yourselves and the community and that, you built back up slowly but surely. And that, and it's those things that I had to convey to people, and that it's not forever. You cannot be in that position like you've talked about forever. It's not conducive. So you will build you back up. And this is where I kept saying she's going to be better than before. She's going to be incredible, and she is.
Yeah, because it is that. It's definitely such a strange space when we've touched on it earlier on when I said about when people start to see you get leaner and that extreme type vibe of like, what the hell is happening? And as a parent, that is tough because people around you haven't seen this before. And that transfers. Actually, I had something happen to me. I might have mentioned this on the pod before, but I used to work at a gym and a guy came up to me once and he said, "You've lost a lot of weight." And I said, "Oh yeah, I'm on my own journey." And he was like, "Have you got a food disorder?" And he just said it out loud in the gym. And first of all, I was a bit like, what, has he just said that? And then when I actually thought about it, there was two things that came to mind. Would you talk to someone that was overweight like that and say, "Have you got a food disorder? Do you eat too much?" Ordinarily, probably not. And also, if I did have a food disorder, what would then happen from that? Would I then lean into that more? Would I go into self-restriction, etc.? And it stays in my mind because it's such an example of people just say things so flippantly. And that is very, very hard because, of course, that transfers into potentially a knock on your confidence when you're trying to do something good. And this is what I always try and say to people. When you're on this journey, you're trying to do something positive. And then when you get, people saying negative, it's very tough. And in regards to that, how did it feel? Was there ever moments when Kirsty was like, "I'm not lean enough," or "My posing's not good enough," or all of the common things that we face as competitors? Was there elements of self-doubt that you tried to sort of empower her through?
Yeah, there was. I think towards the end and that, she's like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And it's like, you are, because you're nearly there. You're doing amazing. Yeah, you've got no choice. You're going on that stage and get in there. And then you've done too much to get there. But on a serious note, yeah, there were times when it was like, I can't do this. And myself as well. I thought, I can't do this. And there was times when things had not gone right. And I was sat in this chair, in this dining room, and just crying because it was
At the bottom.
it was rock bottom. But it's you dwell on it, you let it out, you express yourself, and that I had to do it away from them because it was just, like I said, my time to either do meditation, to go to the gym and stuff like that. I had to let it out because it's just, you have to be strong for that person for the next day. And it's when she said things like, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it anymore. And it's like, no, you can, because you've got to this point. You are lean, you are doing so well. There is still 3 weeks away. A lot can happen in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
3 weeks of that show, a lot can change. It's not just being self-absorbed in that moment and just writing it off. It's like there's still time. A lot can change.
Yeah.
You will be lean, and she was lean. The posing was crisp, spot on, and those 3 pillars came through on that day. And as the 4th pillar, that support, I'd like to think that we all chipped into that. Not just me, not just the boys, but friends, family, coaches, yourself, Matt, the community, and all that lot, all chipped into it. That's the 4th pillar. And when you've got a strong 4th pillar, the rest seem to follow. Yeah.
And we've got to give a shout out to Toby as well. Like you and Toby.
Yes, we have.
That relationship that's formed from the first photo shoot, of course, that we did, and the community WhatsApp. But I mean, he's done incredible as well, and he's done very similar to you. Got to that point, and he won't mind me saying, got to rock bottom, and needed to take control of his life and get himself back. Now, you two are just slightly different in regards to, he'd done like a full gym program before, he's a gym instructor, stuff like that, and he'd lost that and then, you know, gained it back through doing what we've done, and you sort of almost started from scratch, and you've found this now. So for you it's that incarnation, for Toby it's reincarnation, but
yeah,
just that, you know, and seeing each other and praising each other, and there's a lot to be said for that. If you can back people in the community, even if it's one person, you know, that you communicate with, and that's something I say to competitors, you know, make these friendships. And I'm sure you've seen Kirsty make some, like on Instagram and posing and stuff like that.
yeah. Those kind of relationships are just outstanding, and I take my hat off to Toby. He's one outstanding man in terms of just what he's achieved and everything. And a virtual high five straight away. When anything comes up, it's like, yes.
Yeah.
It's like the changes that I've seen in that sort of space time is outstanding. And I love it. It's my drive. It's one of the drives I love to see. It's like it even spurs on myself and that to do better. So
Same
right,
about you.
let's go. Yeah. So it's just, he's an amazing man. And to know that even we've both hit rock bottom at times, and like I've said, to the point where I thought, do I really need to be here?
Yep.
What if I just yeah,
No,
bananas to it. Yeah, bananas to it. I'll just go away and nobody. But through this, you learn your self-worth and that and everything. You learn that you are part of something. You are a person. You belong, and it's nice to be part of something now where I can just talk about anything I want and just be myself. Be a gent, be like praising people and everything else. That's what I enjoy. I love seeing people doing well, and yeah,
enjoy
Toby, outstanding.
I know this will make him happy, because you guys have really formed that bond, and you do. We say it, you know, Matt and I, about the community and our clients. You are the family we choose, and we're not just saying that. You do become, like you say, you know, it's coach and mentor, but also a friend, because you are there through thick and thin. And the mental health side of things, you actually said it earlier, and that's something I always try and highlight. And the more I speak about it with males, the more they go, fuck, I've struggled with this my whole life and I didn't want to say anything. And it's so true. You know, it's not just females that struggle with this, it's males. And through the physique development journey, Matt and I often say it's actually the mental evolution that becomes the biggest part of that. And the aesthetic is, you know, it's like this is celebration of what you can achieve, but mentally, like, yeah, it's a night and day difference. Like you say, with Kirsty's confidence, your own confidence, it's big.
Yeah, it is. And like I say, it's done so much in terms of my confidence, my work ethic, my performance in my job. I'd like to think I'll probably find that out tomorrow, but it's those kind of things, or little things that seem to just fit into place just because you've invested in yourself and that in your mental health. For any man, and particularly northerner, not myself, who are stubborn goats who don't talk much, but for me, I've learned to just say how I feel, and it goes back again to the video. I'd built up that feeling, and that because I couldn't look at social media, and I just needed something to break it, and I just went, Sarah, I'm going to do a video. I'm going to break tradition. I'm not going to write an essay and that and everything else. Everyone else has done their essays and that and everything else, and that which is beautiful to see. And that, but before I couldn't watch it because I think you just that feeling that it come to an end. That's it. The hype was there, the build was there, and then just for me as well. It's for somebody who's supported someone like Kirsty, and that it's you work so hard to make sure all the areas are boxed off. Your kids, the steps, the prep, the diet, the training, all of that. You build and build and build and build and build, and then you get to that point where you see your wife on that show and you are incredibly proud, screaming your head off, you lose your voice, and then after that it's bang. It's like,
I'm still the same person.
Whoa. I couldn't. And it's just, although you learn a lot about yourself through it, it's that bump. Like that bump hit me, and I couldn't look at social media because it was just too much, and I had to withdraw. And I even not looking at the community WhatsApp group, and that it's just I couldn't look at it. I kept looking at it, but just it's not as like I normally do, not interacting. And that it's it's those kind of things. And then I just felt like I had to do something to break that cycle. And that it's like the mental health side of it, that cycle is just speaking to somebody, speaking to yourself, speaking to Matt, speaking to Kirsty, speaking to a friend, speaking to even a person on the street. Because someday you'll walk up to somebody and go, you don't look right.
Yeah.
Not you don't look right. You don't like ugly or all that, but are you okay? Are you all right? And that it's just those kind of questions and that you just break that cycle. Yeah. And then it's just boom.
But then look what this has then delivered, you know, that video, and then doing a reel and putting it out there for you, you know, the courage to do that. And then, you know, for me, then asking you to come on the pod, it's like, it's bridging that gap of men addressing mental health, even if, and I'm sure you'll agree, Rob, I say it on the pod all the time, if one person listens to what we've spoken about today, or watches the reel on Instagram, or, you know, speaks to you a little bit more about it, and that potentially changes their life or their outlook, it's worth it, because it's such an important topic, and this takes courage and guts. And I know that it's hard for you to take lots and lots of compliments, but of course I'm going to keep giving them, and I'm sure people will from listening to the episode, because it's stuff that people don't talk about, and it's so important that we do. And this is exactly what I thought the episode would be, you know, just a raw, honest insight into what it takes to be a husband for someone that's prepping, you know.
Yeah, a friend, a wife, a partner, whatever, they all play a part and that in your journey, and you need to count on them. They need to be there for you. And for anyone who struggles with mental health, who watches this, I don't care who you are, my door is open. And anybody can just reach out to me and stuff like that, because
on the gram,
it might be just that, it might be just that one person that, even though they are not related, they are completely outside, that one person that you speak to might be that person who helps you through a critical part where you're thinking, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be here anymore. And it's like draws you back into reality, into perspective, and go, yeah, you are worth this. You are worth so much. You just need to realize it and just take that first step and ask for help, for mental health in particular, and just speaking to anybody, even if it's just somebody on the street, even if it's me.
Yeah.
And that
it's like, if someone smiles at me, sometimes if you are having one of those gloomy days where you think, something's a bit off here, and then you sort of look up and someone smiles at you, and I always say this, you know, one act of kindness can change someone's day, and it is a massive impact. So of course, something like this, a whole episode where someone's got it in their ears, and I always say this to Matt, I'm like, it's very important to me that I get across the right subjects to the right guests, because this being in someone's ear and being such an intimate interaction of what we've spoken about today, it's a big responsibility. And I know that you take it very seriously as well. And like we say, you know, if that one person listens, or of course, if someone listens that's in prep, they can maybe go, I've taken a little golden nugget, as I call them, to then maybe be a bit more considerate to others around them, or communicate a bit differently, or, you know, anything like that. And yeah, it's such a good episode, Rob. And of course, this is stepping right out of your comfort zone, which is what we're all about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's that one person. If that one person goes, I need someone to talk to, or you know what, enough's enough. I mean, I'm biased, but you've been outstanding for me as a coach, and the coach element of it is worth every single penny, because you don't just get, if you get the right person, the right coach, the right mindset, the right environment, you can do so much. And I've achieved what I have because of the support of my family and friends and that, but also the support of my coaches and you as well, because it's just you feel like you could just do anything. And I could go from about 16 stone 4 to 11 stone 11, and then knowing that I've got that support to go, right, when we do a growth phase, you will get slightly bigger. And that, but
the right way.
It's safe. You're in a safe environment, and that's it just brings all that into perspective, and that's why a coach is invaluable to this. And even if you're not doing a show or anything like that, even if it's just to build self-confidence, having that person to go, right, we've got you. Whatever you want to talk about, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to achieve, we've got you. and that catchphrase, "We've got you," is frequent. And I think I'd like to think that I'm a person where if someone goes, "I'm all right," and I can just go, "Are you sure you're all right?" And then they'll talk, and they'll go, "No, not really."
Yeah.
And then it's like, let's talk.
Fine.
And even just let's LFG, let's go, come on, sit down.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's just, yeah.
And when we talk about, this is what we're going to finish on, the question of the pod. Well, I've built it up a bit there, Rob. If in the future Kirsty was to prep again, I don't know if there's talks of that or how that would transpire. How do you feel having had this sort of reflection today, the talks we've had, the talks you've had with Kirsty, and of course the actual experience of prep and this first week coming out of it? How would that feel? Do you think it's something that you'd be like, right, we'd do it, but we'd be a bit more armed this time? Is there,
I think exposure to it all has really helped. And if we know what's coming, and we're prepared together, we communicate well to it, we really can achieve it. And I'm up here is more armed now to overcome the barriers when things are difficult, the tense periods. And yeah, I would, if she wanted to do it as many times as she wanted, or if I want to do it, I know that the tools are there to overcome any barriers.
So we will basically, guys, everyone listening, watch this space. Now, of course, as we always wrap up on the pod, you've offered that you would talk to people if they wanted to reach out. And I always say, if you like this episode, if you took something from it, tag away on Instagram. And I know Rob will love that. Now, on Instagram, you used to be Umberto Outhwaite, but I believe now you are Rob Outhwaite on the old. So, of course, have a look. If you want to reach out to Rob, send him a message or follow his journey on Instagram. And of course, a massive thank you, Rob, because this has been a very, very special episode for myself, and I know, of course, for you. And now you can say you have been a guest on the Beyond Condition podcast. So thank you, Rob.
Thank you very much. It's been an honor. Thank you. Thank you for everything you've done for me. I really do appreciate everything that you have done for me.
You are my ultimate G.
Thank you.
Goodbye, my friend, and I will speak to you soon.
See you in a bit. Thank you.